All right, it's time for another installment of Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour Angling Uploaded's Insights or something. I don't really have a great name for this yet, but bear with me. It's going to be something like that. Recap of the day, insights, I don't know. I'll have to come up with something more catchy. So what we're going to talk about today is Day 3 and Day 4 of the qualifying round of the Bass Pro Tour, Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour on Lake Eufaula. And if this is the first time you've seen me, my name is Greg Underdahl. I am a freelance videographer. I'm also a passionate fisherman. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to just, this whole season of the Bass Pro Tour, after I've been out on the water, come back to my beautiful hotel room here and just kind of give a recap of the day and talk about anything that I saw that was kind of interesting that you might not necessarily see on the live internet show or on TV. So here we go. I have a terrible memory, so we're going to go back to Day 3, okay, which was yesterday, and Day 3 of the qualifying round, and I was with Todd Faircloth, and Todd was doing a lot of pitching to grass. I mean, he was really being methodical, I think is the word. It's been a long day. It was a tough day for Todd, but he already did well the first day of the qualifying round, so he has made it into the knockout round. But what I found that was really interesting is that an angler doing something completely different. So we've had a ton of rain here at Lake Eufaula, and the lake has gotten really muddy. And interestingly, Todd was still in the upper sections, of the lake where it gets muddiest the soonest. That's where the upper end of the lake is where the river's coming in, and that's where it's going to be muddy, right? And he was there, and it was tough. I mean, he caught some fish, but it was very tough, but he caught enough to get him into the knockout round, so he made it to the knockout round. Very interesting. Greg Vinson was also fishing where it was muddier, and he was using a jerkbait. And you don't typically think of a jerkbait as being a lure that would be good for muddy water, but he was catching them. In fact, he had a streak there where he was really catching them. So I've got this camera on my shoulder filming these guys, and a lot of times, as I'm filming, I'll think about there's a score tracker update going on, and I'm hearing that Greg is doing so well, and in this ear I'm listening. I've got earbuds in this ear I can hear the control room, okay, and I can tell how they're directing the live show and what they're talking about. And they're talking about how Greg Vinson is just lighting up the score tracker on a jerkbait and fishing in dirty water, essentially. You think of jerkbaiting, you want to do it in clear water. It's a great cold water bait, but it needs to be clear. Well, this was not the case. He was catching them in dirtier water. And so I got to thinking, why is a jerkbait considered a great clear water bait, but you can't use it in dirty water? And because most suspending jerkbaits have rattles, so you'd think that would cause a commotion. When they're going through the water, there's, even if it's dirty water, they're displacing a lot of water, so a fish could, know that it's there by using its lateral line and inner ear and other senses besides just sight. So I think maybe sometimes as bass fishermen we get a little bit too locked into certain things that techniques that, oh, you can only do this technique this way. It has to be these kind of water conditions. And when you think about it, a jerkbait, especially suspending jerkbait, you can kind of still make some noise with that thing if it has rattles in it and kind of slow it down. And you would think that in some instances that would be easier for a fish in dirtier water to find it. So I don't know. That's just kind of what I was thinking out on the water. I'm like, maybe we need to rethink all this stuff about jerkbaits only working, in clear water. So that was something that I think was interesting on day 3 of the qualifying round. Also, Bryan Thrift, who won day 3 of the qualifying round, is just super scary. This guy's super scary. He came over from the FLW Tour to the Bass Pro Tour, and everybody knew that he was going to do great, but he is just like, the guy's phenomenal. And I really believe this. I don't think this is going out on a limb at all. I really believe that Bryan Thrift and Jacob Wheeler are going to just, they're going to dominate. I think they're going to dominate the Bass Pro Tour. I really, really do. These guys are really a completely new class of fishermen. They're like Kevin Van Dam. Kevin was the first to fish aggressively, and they can, Kevin can do everything. These guys can do everything. Bryan Thrift, Jacob Wheeler, they're efficient, just fantastic anglers. So it's going to be really exciting just to see how this year is going to shake out with these guys. I think they're going to do absolutely fantastic. They're already doing fantastic. Bryan Thrift won the qualifying round day 3, and Jacob Wheeler day 4 today won his qualifying round. So FLW guys originally. I used to think FLW guys were like, not as good as Elite Series guys and whatnot, and that is just nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. The best talent, I'm just blown away, has come from the FLW Tour. So let's see here if I'm forgetting anything. Okay, let's move on to day 4 qualifying round. So I got paired up. I learned who I'm paired up with the evening before the tournament. And I was, I get a text on my phone, tells me who I'm paired up with, and I learned that I was paired up last night with Wesley Strader and another FLW guy, starting FLW, who's a fantastic angler. And he's a funny angler, and he's just a hoot to be with. He's the kind of guy that you want to be friends with when you get off the water. You want to go have beers with and hang out with, and he's just a down-to-earth, funny guy, and he's a damn good fisherman. And it's really, really fun to film him and watch him. So that's who I was paired with. And the interesting that in the morning, I'll get to who I was paired with later, but interesting thing about this day, okay, today, was that, so we had all this rain coming into this event, and we had, just like all reservoirs, generally all reservoirs, the top end of the reservoir, you have the river coming in, that's where the dirty water is. If it's flooding, that's where it gets dirtier first. Well, what's happened is down by the dam where it was clear, that water is now getting dirtier. And so I don't even know if there's an area of the lake that's has cleaner water anymore. So it's interesting to see how on a massive scale how water just moves. And also we're supposed to have a lot of rain tomorrow, so they're trying to get this lake cleared out, and the water's dropping. And so I think they're just kind of preparing for what is going to happen tomorrow. So that's another thing about this job. I love this job. I'm such a fan of bass fishing, competitive bass fishing in particular, that I love doing this, but it's also, there's so many elements that can really make things suck, and weather's one of them. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But cool how just the water moving through the system made its way down to the dam when the first couple of days it wasn't like that. The water was clear down by the dam. So Wesley started out throwing some different things this morning, but he was throwing a buzzbait a little bit. But a buzzbait is one of my favorite lures, but Wesley is really, really good with a buzzbait. And one of the things, he said this to me before, last year I think he said this when he was throwing a buzzbait, but he wants to see a bubble trail behind his buzzbait. And the longer the bubble trail is, the better. And for whatever reason, he says they'll bite it better. That's when buzz baiting is good, is when the bubble trail is present. You could see a bubble trail behind the buzz bait, and the longer the better. He had no idea why that was the case. And I don't know if I left him at some part of the day. I don't know if he ever caught any on a buzz bait, but knowing how good an angler Wesley is, when you hear things like that, they kind of stick in your head. So I thought I'd share that with you. Okay. And the other thing about, I love buzzbait. It's one of my favorite lures. Buzzbait, jig, and those are basically my two favorite lures, a buzzbait and a jig. But if you love buzzbaits, you know that they need to make a sound. They need to squeak. And I tell you, Wesley's buzzbaits are like the best sounding buzzbaits. I'm always amazed at how they sound. You want a squeaky buzzbait. So thought I'd share that with you as well. I was moved to Kevin Van Dam, and I work with Kevin a lot. I actually started my career 20 years ago with Bass Pro Shops as a young kid right out of college, filming with Kevin. So worked with Bass Pro Shops in the video department, did retail videos, did a pitching to heavy hitters video, made it with Kevin, and so I've worked with Kevin a ton. So it's always great to be back in the boat with him. It's kind of like a reunion of sorts. And in fact, we talked about a shoot that we were on one time, and I was kind of amazed that he even remembered it. And as lame as this kind of might sound, because it sounds like I'm a fanboy, but when you're such a fan of the sport, and you're essentially, friends with a guy that's I don't want to use the Tiger Woods analogy, but it is kind of like that. He's at the pinnacle of the sport. It's just kind of cool that, you work with someone like that, and you have a history. So I enjoy that about what I do. It's really something that I really, I just feel very fortunate. So as the day was winding down, Kevin, the great thing is he made it in. He was he was fishing super fast, throwing a chatterbait. It wasn't a chatterbait, it's the thunder cricket that Strike King makes, but throwing that like crazy around docks, and we would actually go, he wouldn't go around most of the docks, we'd go through them, and he actually scraped the cowling on his brand new Mercury. I think he kind of judged it wrong, and that kind of hurt a little bit, to be honest, kind of scraping and, left a mark. But he threw that thunder cricket a ton. It's classic Van Dam, running and gunning. And I think he finished into the 14th spot, so he's moving on to the knockout round. And it was it was great to be in the boat with him. But one thing that I noticed is that he's no longer with Quantum. Now, you guys out there might know, maybe, I don't know if, what happened to Quantum. Maybe they're still around, but I guess he's with Luz now. Maybe Luz bought Quantum, or maybe they're affiliated with the same, I don't know, maybe it's owned by the same parent company or something. I don't know, but it's just, if you followed Kevin's career, you know that Kevin's been with two brands his whole career, and that's like Nitro and Quantum. And so it's strange to see him with Luz. So I thought that was interesting. And let's see here. I thought that you should see my fancy glasses. So this job can be very dangerous in many ways. So you have to take precautions. I always wear a life jacket. I'm not going to make this a safety video, but also I wear glasses like this. I'm looking at a viewfinder right here, but I want this eye that's completely open. I got the camera over here on my shoulder. I want this eye protected, so that's why I wear glasses like this. I can see clearly here. There's no tint, so I can see the viewfinder perfectly. And this eye's already protected with the viewfinder. This eye is now protected with this right here. And in case, you know, these big bullet, big tungsten weights that they're using to punch through grass beds, that comes flying through on an errant, you know, hook set. This is protecting my eye. Or a cast. I've been hooked by a Van Dam before with a jerkbait. You can see the video. Google it. MLF cameraman gets hooked. It's on YouTube, of course, like everything. And just as, you know, this is what you got to do for the job. You got to protect yourself. I don't know. Maybe you'll find that interesting. Found out that I am with Underdahl is the proper pronunciation. That's who I'll be with tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I say this, I swear I don't mean to sound like a guy who's just kissing everybody's butt here, but Ott is a fantastic fisherman, and he's super nice. He's super laid back. He's barefoot a lot of the times if it's warm enough. And I'm really looking forward to filming him tomorrow in the knockout round. And I will, again, do another recap video of that, and hopefully give you some interesting tidbits there that you'll like. And I want to make a prediction here, okay? This is who I'm going to predict, and predictions are like, you shouldn't make predictions. It's really stupid. It's a fool's errand. You usually are wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to make a prediction. Who's going to win this tournament? Well, it's three guys, okay, that are going to be up there. It's going to be, of course, Jacob Wheeler, Bryan Thrift. I think Randall Tharp. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to say it right now. Randall Tharp has just been doing this. I think I'm going to go with Randall Tharp winning this thing. Okay, he's been just steadily moving up. Jacob Wheeler kind of tanked today, just kind of. I'm going to push him back. I'm going to say Randall Tharp. It's going to be between Randall Tharp and Bryan Thrift. Randall Tharp is going to win this thing completely. There it is. Take it for what it's worth, which is really not much of anything. I am going to sign off. If you like this video, please subscribe to Angling Uploaded. I'm going to be doing this all year, all these recap videos, but we have all kinds of stuff on this channel. Check it out. Thank you. I need to get ready to go to bed. Here we go.